Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump into today's sad story of this child who was lost during childbirth. And I want to start off by really saying I'm sorry to hear this happen to such a beautiful human being. So anyway, let's get into the fix to this photo. The client has asked that the stars become a little more softer, a little more blurred. And basically what I'm seeing is not just the stars, but the photo itself is a little bit too harsh. You can see when I zoom in, because it's a low quality cell phone photo. So what we want to do is soften the whole thing a little bit, but more so on the edges and the stars. What I'm going to do is make it a little more ethereal. And what we're going to do is take that layer, I'm going to copy it and make a duplicate right over here. And that gives us two layers. So I'm going to turn off the top layer. On the bottom layer, we're going to blur by going over here to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And now you can see, right now it's set up here, the default radius is at 1%. Now let's change that. We can go all the way up. See, the more you go, the more it blurs the whole thing. I'd say don't worry about the center here. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the edges mostly to soften the edges. And I would bring that up to something like 2.0 right there. That's 2.0, the radius. And that looks really nice. I'll show you the before. You see how sharp that is? And afterwards, it's nice and softened, the whole edge. Of course, the middle is also softened too much, but that's okay. We're going to fix that. I'll hit OK. Now we turn on the top layer or the foreground, and that's going to make the whole thing sharp again. And what we want to do is erase everything that we don't want sharp, and it'll soften because it'll show the background underneath it. So let's grab the eraser, and let's grab a really big eraser, like 250 points. That's really big. You can see that. So watch what happens as I start erasing that top layer. It becomes blurry. And I want to make sure not to get the face too much, but get everything else around the face like this. Now I can actually turn off the bottom layer, and you can see the face is still left, and we can actually just erase the whole rest of the photo on the top layer, because all that we want it to be blurred out a little bit, and just to have the face be the only part that's in focus. When I turn this back on, look at that. The background is nice and soft. And now with the face itself, I think what we want to do is soften it just a little bit because it still is a little bit harsh because of the photo quality. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the face. I'll go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and its default right now is at 5.6. That's way too much. Let's bring that down to, just really subtle. I'd say a 0.5. See that? It's soft. I'm going to show you the before, how sharp that is, and after. It just softens it up really subtly. I'll hit OK. And that's looking really, really good. Now the last thing I would do is, because of this background is kind of, even though it's softened, it's still kind of harsh as far as the subject matter is concerned. We want to be really respectful about this. So what I want to do is make it even more ethereal. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go down here and grab a brush and make that brush pure white, and then hit OK. Now we want that brush to be really big. Let's change that from 100 to 400 points. See how big that white brush is? I'm going to zoom out so I have that brush available to go around the whole edge of the photo. If I start here, take the center of that brush and place it right here where the top left corner of the paper is in the center of the brush, I'll hit the mouse key and I'll draw a line straight across and see what happens. Then I'll do the same thing from this corner down. I'll do the same thing on this corner, and finally I'll come back up like that. Now when you look at this photo, it's completely dreamlike. It looks like it's from the clouds. So you could take that in and out, this before and after. This is what I think that they might be looking for. So anyway, this is it for this sad tutorial. This is Rich calling it quits, saying over and out.